Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to coffee time. Good old-fashioned coffee time where we have coffee. We talk about a topic that I've just thought about instead of talking about the rotten news. Cool. I hear that Rishi Sunak wants to introduce national service if the Conservatives win the 2024 election. I think he's deliberately thrown the election. I mean, he might as well have just said, if I win the election, I'm going to come round and fuck your mum. He might as well have said that. Where was national service ever being talked about, like since the 1980s? It's not been a thing. And how do you expect young people to do national service when you expect them to go on to do A-levels and then go to university, etc., etc.? Blow a poppycock. But anyway, I'm getting off the topic. Let's talk about young people. I'm old. I'm probably older than time itself. That's not strictly true. I'm 53. I was born in 1971. And you know what? I'm really pleased that I was born in 1971 because I managed to hit the perfect wave of culture. The perfect cultural wave for we still have memories of glam, of punk, of the new romantics, you know, of the pure pop of the 80s, the not so good stuff towards the late 80s, the grunge, the Britpop, the so on, the so forth, the computer games, the rise of computer games, cinema. We got it all. We got it all. We surfed the wave of pop culture, and we're all the better for it. But what I've noticed is that young people are stupid. Oh, Darren, you don't mean that. No, I don't. I say that because it's one of those things that you can hook people in, because enragement is engagement. But what I do worry about with young folk or younger folk is their lack of imagination, a lack of dealing with things like nuance. You know, everything is literal these days, and this is why they don't necessarily understand humour. And you're probably wondering why, Darren. Why are you talking about this? Well, it's to do with that Doctor Who story that was on at the weekend. I always forget the name of it. Is it 73 yards? I keep wanting to call it number 73 for some reason. That's because there's a great channel called Made in Maidstone on here that uploaded some old episodes of number 73, and I watched one with my daughter, and she sat there open mouthed, and she went, "This is amazing." I went, "It is amazing," and it was live. It was done live as well. But anyway, I'm going off the topic. My daughter, who's 16, is not like young people, for she has an imagination. And the thing about 73 Yards is a story that deals with ambiguity and mystery. And a lot of people are very grumpy and upset because Russell T Davies says he's never going to answer the questions about it, and never going to reveal what went on, what was said to make the characters run away, because he wants to preserve the mystery of the story. And a lot of people are a little bit arseholed about this because they want everything explained to them down to the nth degree. Now, again, some stories, I think you do need to have the reasons why things happening, like the Space Babies one. Why the Space Babies had developed the power of speech but not actually grown up. I thought, the mechanics of that, I think you do need to, you need to address that. Even if it can be one line. It can be say, well, it's a malfunction in the genetic loom that created them, or the space station flew through a cloud of spasmodic radiation. It's a throwaway line. You can, Doctor can get his sonic compact out, because that's what he's got now, and scan them, and it's literally explained in a line, and then the brain can just go. Because again, sometimes in stories, when they are fairly straight ahead, you do need these little bits of explanation to stop you thinking, well, why is this happening? And sometimes the whys and wherefores aren't either logical or good enough to hold the premise or the conceit of the story. Again, with Space Babies, the creation of the snot monster, I didn't really think it worked. It'd have been funnier if I don't know, all that genetic material from the Space Babies snot rags had actually fallen into the genetic loom, we can call it that, and created the snot monster. That would have been funny. You know, it's a melding of their DNA and the snot. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. I'm actually kind of undoing my point here. My point is also sometimes stories, especially if they are, I don't know, supernatural, I don't know, or come from a realm where there is nuance and mystery, I think it is good to keep those stories open-ended, because it's asking the audience to join in, to bring their imaginations, because those holes are deliberately left open. There is a mystery there, and they are left open deliberately. I wouldn't say that's the case with the Space Babies story. I'm using that as the example. Whereas, again, Russell T Davies is being very deliberate with that story to leave these gaps in order for you to kind of fill in the blanks. Or it could be that the mystery is going to be resolved further down the line in the story. It could be one of those, you know, story arc things that they like to build into Doctor Who these days, like Bad Wolf or The Crack or whatever it is that they do nowadays. But yeah, what you get now is, again, a lot of people. I had some people in the comments go, you know, because I did a little explanation video. I kind of fell into the trap. I thought I was being clever because, you know, I thought it was quite apparent what was going on. If you watch Doctor Who and you're into the lore, you know, one or two explanations are quite obvious to you if you're familiar with the way the stories are put together, you know, throughout the whole show's history. And the modern show seemingly likes to pull on, you know, story points from previous seasons, series, stories. Even Boom, the last story, is based on Genesis of the Daleks, where Tom Baker, Fourth Doctor, steps on a landmine. What if he's so inept that he can't figure out how to get off the landmine? Of course, we know that the Boom story is flawed because, you know, a proper doctor would have pulled out his sonic screwdriver and disabled the bomb in no time. Quick, smart, like that. I'm joking. So anyway, a lot of people, they didn't understand the story, and I kind of fell into the trap, because what you get on this thing, not just this thing, but on a lot of social media platforms, is people who've, you know, a rich seam of content where they explain things, the endings of movies to people, and very often, I think they're wrong. Now, very often they explain very obvious things, which you think, God, people don't get this. This is daft. And it seems to be an even more growing trend. More and more and more, there's a need for every film or TV series for someone to either write a big screed of text on platforms such as Facebook, or to make videos explaining it, because I do believe the audience is getting dafter and dafter and dafter, because they don't have the faculty to have the imagination to deal with ambiguity. Now, I grew up in a time where it was commonplace to have mysteries in stories, whether it be Doctor Who. Again, not all Doctor Who stories make sense. Just the Watcher thing that I mentioned in my explanation, it was explained away with, it was the Doctor all along, and we just went, yeah, okay, a future echo of the Doctor. Yeah, that works. You know, there have been many plot points in the 60 plus years of Doctor Who that don't always add up, but we roll with it. And this extends to, you know, a lot of shows that were on I mean, crikey, if you want to go back to the beginning of not the beginning of sci-fi, because you'd have to talk about, you know, Journey, was it Voyage dans le Moon, with what's his name? But just take a very classic movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey, the ending of which is, you know, a little bit, you know, for the audiences at the time, a little bit discombobulating. But, you know, with a bit of imagination, you can figure it out. Or figure out your own version. Again, things are open to interpretation, like art, you know. There's not necessarily a definitive answer to some of these ambiguous endings. But like I said, I grew up with things like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like The Tomorrow People, Space 1999. I mean, there were some very strange stories in that didn't always make sense. Sapphire and Steel, which I did actually name check in my review of 73 Yards. A classic series, go watch it, where every week you're left scratching your heads, going, what the hell was that all about? But you still tuned in. It was a different kind of storytelling. Hammer House of Horror, the series there were some stories there that left you, you know, trying to fill in the blanks. And so, that's without Tales of the Unexpected. My goodness. So yeah, I kind of grew up with this storytelling where things are ambiguous, things are left there. You don't always know all the details. You don't need the entire story explained to you, you know. And again, back in the oldie days, before the 2-hour movie came along, when movies were 90 minutes long, if go and watch an old movie from the 70s. Crikey, it's 50 years ago now. Go and watch a movie from there, and it's very tight. Explanations are kept to the minimum. It's up to the audience to kind of figure it out. Sometimes in stories, you know, a story will just happen before your eyes because there is no fat. It's all meat and muscle in the story, and some of the lifting is expected for you to do. You've got to listen to the dialogue and you've got to fill in the blanks. And I don't think the audience these days can do that. I don't think they have the capacity to fill in the blanks. Or, in the case of that Doctor Who story, think, I wonder what that's about, and be happy with wondering, and be happy with thinking, that's a mystery. I like that. And again, with time travel stories, what you're dealing with, again, with time travel, one, it's science fiction, and two, you often have the trope where storylines both happen and don't happen at the same time. Again, there are direct parallels between 73 Yards and the Turn Left episode. It's basically the same story, but with a different mechanic behind it. The 73 Yard story has this kind of supernatural thing, which I think is a MacGuffin myself. I think that's a whole MacGuffin with the fairy circle. And the Turn Left story, where it's the trickster's minion planting a bug on Donna, which can rewrite her story. Again, okay, don't think about it. Or think about it, whichever your case may be. Again, if you really analyse both stories, then that makes sense, because time's already happened, but we're dealing with time travel. And so if you're up with the idea of time travel, then you've got to be up with the idea of these kind of, still got my drawing, these cyclical stories. Oops, you've got to get used to that kind of structure, where timelines can happen and not happen at the same time. And they're also kind of structured a bit like a Pink Floyd album, like Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall, where the end of the album signifies the beginning of the album. Go listen. So yeah, cyclical storytelling as well. We've had that before, where a character inadvertently is the catalyst for the beginning of the story, you know, because of time travel. You know, that's a trope too. So yeah, but I do think there is a distinct lack of imagination out there, and that's fueled by social media and YouTube, and and idiots like me who thought they'd do a good thing by trying to explain it, because people are upset that they couldn't figure it out. And I thought, well, look, it's obvious. It's a version of The Watcher or something. You know, they're playing with that kind of thing. Because they've brought everything else back. Why not bring back The Watcher? But anyway, and again, somebody was upset because I said, my God, do any of you have any imagination out there? He thought it was a rhetorical question. I wasn't actually insulting him, but maybe I should have done. But he took it as an insult, one of the commentators on the YouTubes, because everybody takes every comment as an insult. And, you know, I was just exasperated by, you know, that lack of imagination. But there you go. It's a different world now, and people have grown up on a diet of Marvel, the Disneyfication of storytelling, where, hey, we've got 2.5 hours to fill, let's fill it. And I think people have got so used to that kind of storytelling that, you know, until every you know, angle is covered, you know, they're not happy. So yeah, anyway, that's just my thoughts on people's lack of imagination these days. Payne's in this is Doctor Who episode called My View from Swansea Pier. RT's reason for it being 73 yards. Okay. Sure, why not? But what do you think? Do you have a lack of imagination? Leave a comment in the comments box below. Fuck, I'm really asking for it. It's good because no one's going to watch this video, so it should be all right. But yeah, I do think social media and the commentary people who, you know, like to explain things. All right, dear, do you know what's going on, dear? Well, let me tell you. And that's, I think, where a lot of people have become a little bit exasperated by, you know, mysteries. There's not enough true, like, mysteries. I mean, God, what would I make of, was it M.R. James, his stories and things like that? You know, stories that truly deal with the macabre and the uncanny. I do not know. Anyway, thank you for watching. That was just me doing a genuine, an actual proper coffee time with coffee. And hopefully there's been no mystery in any of this and you don't need it explained to. 6 viewers, 2 likes, and Payne commenting. There we go. Thank you for watching. I'm going to sod off now, and I suggest you do the same. Ta-ta.